Hi guys, welcome to today's video, which is going to be looking at atomic structure. What we're going to be looking at is the structure of an atom. So what makes up an atom? There are three main components, okay? And then we're going to be looking at how we can use the periodic table to help us understand how to draw the structure of an atom. So there was a chemist called Niels Bohr who came up with a theory for what an atom looks like, so the Bohr model of the atom. And so in that, what he determined is that every atom has a nucleus. So the nucleus is the middle of the atom. This is not the same as necessarily the nucleus of a cell, which is like the brain part of the cell. This is the centre of an atom. Inside that nucleus, he determined that there are protons, which have a positive charge, and there are neutrons, and neutrons have no charge. All right. So what that means is that the nucleus of an atom actually has a positive charge to it. So that can attract things which are negatively charged. Now around the outside of the nucleus, all right, we have these things called electron shells. So we often represent electron shells with dotted lines, and different atoms have different number of electron shells, and I'll talk about that in a different video, okay? But here, what you can see in this electron shell, so we have electrons which orbit around the outside of the nucleus. Now electrons have a negative charge. So we have this interaction between negative electrons, which circle around the outside of the nucleus in electron shells, and a positive nucleus, all right, which is made up of protons and neutrons, and the protons attract the electrons to the nucleus. So what we can do in order to know how many protons and neutrons and electrons an atom has is we use the periodic table. So when you have a look at the periodic table, there are two numbers associated with every element. So if you look at an element, I'm just going to choose sodium to start with. So if you look at sodium on the periodic table, you'll see that it has the number 11 with it, and it also has a number with it, and normally it's around about 23, okay? So these two numbers are really, really important, okay? This number up the top here, this is the bigger number of the two, is called the mass number. I apologise, I'll get some new pens for the next video. So this is called the mass number, okay? This smaller number down the bottom, this one here, this is called the atomic number. Now, both of these are really, really useful for us when we're looking at working out the structure of an atom and how many protons and neutrons it has. So I'm going to start with the atomic number here. The atomic number here tells us the number of protons in the nucleus. So in this case here for sodium, that means it has 11 protons. But what it also tells us is that when we have a neutrally charged sodium atom, so just a normal sodium atom by itself, it's not in the 1+ charge if it's an ion, but when it's just neutrally charged, that also means we must therefore have also 11 electrons. So we know inside the nucleus there's going to be 11 protons, and inside, in those electron shells that are orbiting the nucleus, there are going to be 11 electrons. The mass number up here, what that tells us, and I'm not sure if my pink's going to work, so I'm going to go back to blue, sorry. The mass number tells us the number of protons and neutrons in the nucleus. So that tells us inside the nucleus, total we have in the number of those particles is 23. So if we know if we have 11 protons, okay, that must mean that we have 23 minus 11, so 12 neutrons. So you can use the mass number and the atomic number to work out the structure of the atom. So if we were to draw up our sodium again, okay, if we drew this up, we would have a nucleus here, and inside that nucleus we would have 11 protons, we would have 12 neutrons, and then in the electron shells, which are around the outside, okay, we actually have 11 electrons. Now the next video that I'm going to put together is going to be an introduction to electron configurations, because these 11 electrons, they're not just in one shell. For sodium, they're actually in 3 shells, and I'll tell you how you use a periodic table to work that out as well. But for the moment, with atomic structure, the main thing you need to know is that you have a central nucleus, all right, here. You have electron shells that orbit that. The nucleus contains protons, which are positive, and neutrons, which have no charge. The electron shells contain electrons, which have a negative charge. You can work out how many protons, neutrons, and electrons there are by using the atomic number and the mass number off the periodic table. The atomic number tells you the number of protons, and because it has no charge, it gives you the same number of electrons as well. What you then do is you use the mass number, you take the atomic number away from the mass number, and that will tell you the number of neutrons that you have in there as well. Well, hopefully this has been a fairly straightforward introduction to atomic structure. As always, if you've got any questions, just ask. Thanks, guys.